The Christian Union is run by a committee, sometimes called the Executive Committee. It's called the Executive Committee because it's the one in between the annual general meetings, is the one held responsible for the smooth running of the fellowship and ensuring that the fellowship is going towards its vision and mission. Like we said, you need to understand that the structure of the Christian Union is God at the very top. He's the one whose word is final. Below him is the annual general meeting. If they are all born again and listening to God, you therefore want to hear what the annual general meeting says because it's the most powerful organ below God. Then after the annual general meeting, they will appoint or elect a leadership, an executive committee. That executive committee is the one in between the two annual general meetings. Is the one fully responsible, and is the third most powerful organ of the Christian Union. Below the executive, below the committee, is the chairman himself. The chairman is not as powerful as a committee. It's below the committee. And then below the chairman are individual officers or individual secretary. They all report to the chairman when there is no committee meeting. It is the work of the chairman to coordinate the work of the fellowship, as in line with what God has said, in line with what the annual general meeting says, in line with what the last executive committee meeting was. And there are things he will not decide because he is waiting for a decision to be made by the committee. And then individuals must agree to be coordinated by the chairman until the next committee meeting. You then can see clearly this is a critical issue. Now, if you are to be a well-run committee, three things must be of necessity. Number one, you must have a constitution. What's a constitution? A document that confirms what the reason that fellowship exists, its vision, mission, and core values. It also explains how leadership is transferred from year to year, and it also talks about what the structures the Christian Union will use. So you certainly need a committee, even if it's not written by lawyers. You need a document that talks about long term, the way the CU will be running. But it's not a constitution until an annual general meeting has been given the document in advance. They have read it, they have prayed about it, and then they have voted it as their document. From then onwards, you are to operate in line with the Constitution and not out of the Constitution. If there is something you don't like about the Constitution, you must call a special general meeting for that to be changed. Everybody who operates, the members, the officers, everybody must operate within that Constitution. And any good committee will not make decisions outside what's already agreed in the Constitution and what was instructed by the annual general meeting. And any individual member of the Christian Union will operate per that, but in addition to as coordinated by the executive committee of the Christian Union. So those are things that we need to talk about. So the Christian Union is run by a committee, not by individuals. It's run by a committee. And running an effective committee meeting is something any committee would want to happen. You don't want to be a part of a committee and it's actually not effective, nor is it efficient. If you happen to be the chairman of the committee, you are not only responsible for the goals defined by the annual general meeting, but also for keeping your committee members fully engaged and operational. And you need to understand that. For that to happen, you need to understand the committee is a group, and therefore you need to get yourself acquainted with group dynamics. And it's a full subject on its own, but the first thing you need to understand is that in a new group, people fear each other, they are not secure about each other. You must allow the group to grow from the norming stage when they are trying to set up the way they work, right up to maturity, because it grows in and there are things you can do to a new group which you should not do to an old group. There are things in an old group which you are not necessary for a new group. I think it's important for that to understand. So understand, is this a new committee or have you been operating for a time? And that will be something very clear then. Now, in addition to that, you need to agree right up to the front what your responsibilities are. Before you go into the actual work, define for everybody in the committee why the committee exists and why and what the role of each individual within the committee. And I think that will be something important. Maybe that's what we are calling a committee charge. Clearly defining the mission of that committee, including its purpose, its structure, and also limitations. What can they decide? It's very important to know what you can't do, just as important to know what to do. Because you don't want the next general meeting to be throwing you out because you did things that you did not have power to do. The other thing that you must be clear is you should never have a committee meeting without an agenda. You need to agree an agenda to every meeting. And the people have a right to talk about it before you start the meeting. What's the agenda for the meeting? This will ensure you stay on topic because there are so many things to discuss. You need to agree what are the priorities today. And then you must stay on time to cover all the topics of the day. Remember, all the committee members are not being paid. So they are sacrificing their very important time. You can't waste their time. So the agenda will help to ensure that the time you have the time you spend in the committee is a time that is well spent and well used, and that will be important. So the other thing is you need to have a kind of a strategic plan. Where is the organization going longer term, in order to know what in that strategic plan is for this year, your year, when you are in the committee, and what out of that should be done within this quarter, 3 months, and what should we be doing this month, and what must we do this week. It needs to be seen because you don't want to skip something that would have contributed to the organization doing better and being more efficient. So set clear goals or things that you want to achieve for the year. The first one or two meetings that's what it should be. That should be the agenda, to agree what the goals you want to achieve are and to familiarize themselves with the longer term goals. Next, every meeting, for it to be a meeting, must have minutes. You cannot call yourself a committee meeting if you don't have minutes. And therefore, one of the agenda items that must be there must always to confirm the minutes of the previous meeting. You know, those minutes are not minutes until another meeting confirms that they are true record. From then onward, they are now part of the history of that organization. So you need to have as a first item on any meeting the confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. In case the secretary misunderstood or did not understand or put things the way they are not, people need to agree this is what they said, this is what we decided, this is what we actually agreed. And then, in addition to confirming, you must deal with the matters arising. Otherwise, it will become a talking shop where you're just talking. What makes a committee meeting effective is that the things you agree today must be reported on in the next meeting to say, and even if the task is not finished, there must be some progress report that says what's happening. It's that what will make people not repeat themselves. If you are not acting on something, you will keep talking about it. You become a talking shop. But if the minutes are written in such a way that they hold certain individuals accountable for certain actions that were agreed. So you don't just agree on action, you agree who is to do it and by when. So that if it is you are giving somebody a month and you are meeting again in 2 weeks, he can give you an update, but then it's not necessary for him to have actually finished. So matters arising is a way of reporting the actions that were agreed in the previous meeting. That stops you from being a talking shop into an effective, efficient organization as a committee. And so you should make sure you close out items that are already done, so they don't appear in future. They don't appear in future meetings. They will not be actionable in future meetings. You must say that item now is closed. So the various assignments, once they are reported and people are happy with them, they should be closed, so they now enter into history. And it's important that you don't leave actions to be everybody's action. Ever heard of the saying that everybody's actions is nobody's action? Because everybody thinks, oh, so and so will do it. No, John will do it. They don't mean evil. They are trying to respect John, but John also thought Paul is the one to do it. And that, in the end, the thing is not done. Between meetings, it may be the work of the chairman to just find out the progress of the various using the minutes. That's why minutes need to be written within a week of the meeting, so that number one, the secretary is remembering well. Number two, the people who get the minutes are remembering well enough to be able to say whether they are correct record. Number three, to be a reminder of the actions people are supposed to take. If you produce your minutes too late, and that's the time I'm discovering I had an action I'd forgotten about, I'll have no time to action. I'll just get embarrassed as I appear in the next meeting. And people have a tendency of failing to turn up for the meeting because they don't want to actually get embarrassed. So it will be important that minutes are produced on time. And the way the minutes are written is you are not saying so-and-so said, so-and-so said, so-and-so said. It doesn't matter who said. Was it agreed? Report what's agreed. Don't report who came up with the idea, because then it will tend to be then not a decision of the committee, but a decision of the individual who recommended it. And I think that will be something that will be important. Please understand that these things we are discussing are critical. An effective committee, it doesn't just happen. Somebody has to think through it, prepare for it, and the chairman and secretary must have a meeting, their own meeting before the meeting, so they ensure that the thing will flow well. And that will be something that you need to deal with. So what have we said so far? That if you're a good committee, you will ensure there is a clear constitution with the clear terms of reference for the committee, and it's a responsibility of the committee to ensure where revision is required, they prepare the revision and subject it to an annual general meeting. We have also said that a good committee will have clear officers, especially the chairman and secretary. And it's a responsibility of the chairman to lead the group. It's the chairman. One responsibility of the secretary is to record the meeting. So you can't be an effective committee when those two are not operating. Then you need active committee members who talk, so that it becomes truly a committee decision. And so what that means is you not only need a constitution, not just secretary and chairman, you need each committee member to feel responsible and to be excited and committed to the organization fulfilling its purpose. So they must become effective committee members. And that will be important. But the other thing that will be important is you need to have regular reviews, maybe quarter reviews, to say, this is what we set out to do for this year. How far are we doing? There needs to be an agenda. At least if you're having a committee that will run on 1 year, every 3 months, have an agenda to say performance review that will help you to see whether you are running in the right direction or not. When we talk about a clear constitution, it must set out function, what is the committee to do, what are reporting lines, how do you become a member of this fellowship, how do you get elected as chairman, what's the quorum for the committee meeting or quorum for the annual general meeting. All those are things. And what will be the frequency of the committee meetings? What's the minimum? All those have to be things that are in the Constitution. So that way, the Constitution will tell the committee exactly what is expected of them and what they are authorized to do and what they are not authorized to do, only an annual general meeting can do. So that way you have clarified. And then it's a committee because the one working with the document, once they discover something that's not clear, they will raise it up in the next general meeting. So the Constitution has the terms of reference for the committee, and therefore, with the Constitution, you will be clear what you are supposed to do. If a committee, once the way you establish a committee, the way you elect it, are all in the Constitution. And the members of the committee, members of the fellowship, must know what are the expectations. They should not have more expectation than the committee can actually achieve. And I think that will help. If you are the chairman, you need to clearly understand your role, and especially that emphasis that you are one among equals. You are not the dictator. You announce decisions. You don't make decisions. It's not the responsibility of the chairman to make a decision. It's the responsibility of the chairman to announce decisions. Of course, because he's the one who announces, people start thinking he's the one who made the decision. But the truth is, a good chairman ensures that decisions he's announcing to the whole fellowship are decisions that were made by the committee as per the Constitution. That will be very important. The chairman also needs to have a clear process of leading to decision making. Consensus is the best method, but sometimes consensus takes so long, you may have to call a vote. But calling a vote should be something that's not regular, it's rare, because you want everybody to talk until they are all in a reading from the same page, even as they make decisions. So the chairman will need the skills of communication and governance that will help him in whatever it is that he is supposed to be doing. If you're a committee member, like you have seen before, you must be, of course, you are still a member of the fellowship, so you are qualified as part of the Constitution to be a member of the fellowship. You cannot ask somebody to be in the committee who is not a qualified member of the fellowship. Of course, the Constitution also shows what else beyond becoming a member can qualify you to be in the leadership. And I think that will be important. So an effective member will be somebody who looks at the agenda, who prepares thoroughly for the agenda. So by the time he comes, he is coming to bring information, not just to listen. So, and he does not keep quiet. Even if the majority are going one way, his view, the minority view, he ensures is written. Because maybe later they will discover the reason they made was bad. It's not, you cannot go by, but most people think this way, no? Your ideas also matter, and you must be placed, the ideas must be well placed on the table. That way, even later they may review the decision they made when they realize you had something you were saying, it's only they could not see it at that point. And I think that would be something important to think about. So, if you really are going to be a good committee, we have said you must have an induction meeting. You look for a time when you have enough time, not when you are short of time, to call all the old and new members of the committee to repeat some things that are obvious. What does the Constitution say? What is our role? Why does this organization exist anyway? What is it we are trying to achieve? That's important in the induction process. But beyond that, it's people getting to know each other. In Christian fellowship, I normally say I encourage people to have testimony from first principles. In other words, don't tell us you are saved. Tell us how you got saved. How it has been your spiritual journey. Because in a Christian union, you are in a fellowship. You are in a spiritual organization. So the most important thing is for me to understand how you have arrived where you are. That way, when you have something to be done, I'll not ask you to do something which will make you out of depth. So all that induction, getting to know each other, will be important, and it requires a special meeting where you can allow people to talk without stopping them because you are running out of time. That way you read, people read the Constitution because it will be introduced to them, and they will also carry a copy of the Constitution to be referring to even as they do their various duties, and that will be important. As a committee member, that you fully understand, and so you will not be afraid to comment, because now you know exactly where you are and what you are supposed to be doing. Of course, the good committee, if it's good, especially a committee to run more than a year, it will be good to call for a training on leadership, training on how organizations work, training on group dynamics. All that can be part of the induction process. Well, you may have been elected to your committee by, by popular vote, or even co-opted, by the committee. Some people are co-opted. Once you're in the committee, it really doesn't matter how you came in. Remember, the chairman has one vote, you also have one vote. So you are a critical member of that organization, and you must take responsibility for what goes well and what goes badly. You don't say they did. Once you are a part of the committee, you are also responsible for what goes wrong. And I think that will be very important. During discussions, ask questions where you don't understand. Bring the committee's attention to issues that they may be leaving out, or issues especially of your representation. Maybe you came to represent Form 1s. It is your responsibility to ensure, although you are a member of the committee, you do not forget your constituency, whatever it is. But in addition to that, remember you are there to help the organization realize its vision. And I think that will be very, very important if you are going to achieve your purpose. So, what are we actually saying? We are saying that a good organization will have an effective executive committee. Let me add here that good executive committee may need subcommittees. If you are a big active organization, you may need subcommittees. What are subcommittees? Maybe you select one of the members of the main committee that were elected to have several people whom the committee nominate to deal with a particular issue. So it can be an ad hoc subcommittee to deal with it, so that requires more research and further discussion. Whereas that item is one item in a long agenda in the main committee meeting. In the subcommittee to be the only agenda. So they are able to do a thorough job and make recommendation to the bigger committee. So that's one of the ways of ensuring you become effective, by having ad hoc committees. But sometimes not ad hoc. There may be things that are regularly required. So you need a subcommittee, a standing subcommittee that has somebody in the main executive attending or participating, so that he can report back the details in a summarized form. But the details are discussed in the subcommittee. And it will be important that you understand that role of committee. The subcommittee must keep minutes. It has a chairman, it's a secretary. It must also keep minutes. And those minutes must be copied to the bigger body, because there's nothing, they are actually acting on behalf of the bigger committee, so they should copy them there. But of course, there will be somebody who will come to present the summary to the main committee who was in the other meeting. But they should not be doing things behind the leadership's back. So the minutes, once they are available, should be copied to the bigger committee. But whereas the other way around is not true, the bigger committee's minutes are not copied to subcommittee, because the subcommittee is only dealing with one item. I think that will be an important issue. So what we are saying is, if you're really going to be effective, you need officers of the main committee. For example, if you are dealing with money, you certainly need a treasurer. And if there are major issues, like in a Christian union, you have outreach, maybe you need one person who is going to be in charge of evangelism. Remember, we talked about discipleship. Maybe you need a person who will be in charge of discipleship. He is in charge in the main committee, but he also has a subcommittee he leads that is handling the matter. Maybe there is another person who is in charge of the fellowship aspect and runs with it. You may also decide that there will be sub-fellowship that don't meet as often, but they are there, so that first years have one fellowship, second years have another one, and they meet. You also may need where you allow sisters to meet on their own and brothers to meet on their own. However, the committee must be careful to remember the students did not come to the university or to the high school in order to have Christian union. They came to study. And so your meetings must be such that people still have enough time to study, time to revise, time to do their prep. So avoid too many meetings. And a CU that is not active is as bad as a CU that is overactive, because it's being a bad representation and training people badly. It's important to know you cannot expect people to be in a meeting every lunch hour, every morning, and you still be expecting them to be effective students. No. No meeting is bad. Too many meetings is also bad, and you need to deal with it. Those are the issues that you may need as a committee to ensure are being well done. Any good Christian union will have an effective committee, and the effective committee will be effective because it is actioning. It's not just a talking shop, it's actioning and following up and going for quality. And every member of the committee is involved and engaged, not just leaving 2 or 3 people to be the ones running the show. So Is that how you are running your Christian Union or your Christian Union committee? Is that the way you are running your fellowship? Please go and review.